The relationship between feminism and democracy is a close one. The central philosophy of feminism rests on ideas that emerged from the democratic tradition. Almost every major demand made by feminism has been directed toward the democratic state. And nearly all of feminism's achievements have come through the institutions and machinery of democratic government. Through sustained campaigns and political movements over the past 150 to 200 years, feminism has succeeded in establishing womanhood as a distinct political identity. Yet, despite this achievement, feminism has shown little interest in creating independent political parties to compete in parliamentary elections. Instead, it has generally chosen to remain outside electoral politics while influencing it from a distance and pressing its agenda on the state. Why has feminism adopted this strategy? The answer sheds light on the nature of feminist gender politics and its relationship with democracy.
In principle, democracy is founded on the idea that all citizens are equal before the law. This is why the right to equality is recognized as a fundamental constitutional principle in democratic states. If all human beings are equal, then men and women must also be equal. In this sense, the central objective of feminism, gender equality, follows naturally from democracy's basic premise. At the same time, if gender inequality or discrimination exists in society, the democratic welfare state appears to have a moral obligation to address and eliminate it. This represents the ethical basis of democracy's commitment to feminist objectives.
Now, let us consider how this principle operates in practice. In a democracy, governments are elected through public voting. Under the principle of one person, one vote, the party that secures the support of a majority forms the government. Political parties, therefore, have a strong incentive to satisfy large voting blocks. Women constitute roughly half of the population. If women increasingly identify themselves as a political constituency, political parties naturally become more willing to accommodate feminist demands in order to secure electoral support.
From this perspective, feminism gains far more by encouraging the state as a whole to assume responsibility for women's empowerment than by forming a separate feminist political party and contesting elections. Its strategy is to continually present women's demands to the state. If those demands remain unmet, the issue can then be framed as a failure of both the government and society.
The earliest demands of feminism focused primarily on equal rights, equal voting rights, equal property rights, equal access to education, equal pay, and similar issues. Because these demands sought legal equality, they were broadly consistent with democracy's commitment to equal citizenship. Democratic governments responded by passing laws and implementing reforms. Over time, however, feminist demands increasingly emphasized women-specific rights, protections, and benefits alongside or beyond claims of equal rights. The reasoning behind many such policies can be summarized as follows.
Axiom: men and women are equal. However, 1. Women are nevertheless less represented in Domain A. 2. This low representation reflects a failure of society and the state. 3. Providing women with privilege B would increase women's representation in Area A. 4. Hence, to attain gender equality in Area A, the state should give privilege B to women.
A similar line of reasoning is axiom: men and women are equal. 1. Women lag behind men in Area X. 2. This gap exists because women have feminine disadvantage, Y. 3. Without disadvantage Y, women could compete on equal terms with men in Area X. 4. Therefore, the state must mitigate feminine disadvantage. Y. 5. Providing privilege Z would compensate for or eliminate disadvantage Y. 6. Therefore, the state should provide privilege Z to women.
This kind of reasoning has contributed to the introduction of a wide range of laws, policies, and welfare measures aimed at women's empowerment. Examples include 1. Financial assistance for women in various sectors. 2. Women's colleges and universities. 3. Scholarships reserved for women. 4. Special woman scientist positions to encourage female participation in science. 5. Women-only trains. 6. Separate compartments for women on regular trains. 7. Reserved seats for women on buses and trams. 8. Free travel for women on government-operated buses. 9. Special workplace safety provisions for women. 10. Laws providing additional legal protection for women in domestic sphere. 11. Reservation or quota systems for women. 12. Menstrual leave policies. 13. Income tax concessions for women. 14. Alimony provisions for divorced women. 15. Government assistance for single mothers, etc., etc.
At first glance, such measures appear reasonable. Helping disadvantaged groups is widely regarded as a legitimate goal of a welfare state. However, this also leads to what some see as a fundamental fallacy of liberal democracy. Democracy is based on the principle that all citizens are equal before the state. Yet, when welfare benefits are distributed specifically on the basis of gender, the state itself discriminates among citizens in allocating public resources. From this perspective, the attempt to impose equality requires the state to violate its own commitment to equal treatment. Here is the logical structure of this fallacy.
One, in principle, the democratic state do not discriminate among its citizens on the basis of religion, gender, caste, social status, etc. 2. Consequently, every citizen receives one vote. 3. Since women is a distinct political class, they constitute a significant electoral bloc. 4. Political parties therefore seek to win women's support. 5. To secure support, governments become more inclined to satisfy women's demands. 6. Doing so often requires policies that discriminate between men and women. 7. Such discrimination contradicts the fundamental right to equality. 8. Hence, in practice, democracy does not follow its ideal of equal treatment.
Another interesting feature of this political dynamic is that once gender-specific benefits are introduced, they tend to expand rather than contract. For instance, policies may evolve from reserved seats for women on buses and trams to separate railway compartments, then to women-only trains, and eventually to free travel on public transportation. Similar patterns can be observed in other areas, such as women-centric cash flow, women's quota, special provisions for working women, etc. It appears that the more incentives are provided for women's empowerment, the more they require. Whether and how democracies would ultimately resolve these anomalies remains an open question. One conclusion, however, follows from the analysis presented here. Democratic institutions have proven highly responsive to feminist political demands. Unless manhood also develops into a comparable political identity capable of exerting similar electoral influence, democracy is likely to go on favoring feminism with little regard men's predicaments.